Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to talk about Demo 1. Now Demo 1 was a demo disc which came bundled with the original PlayStation in the UK, and I thought for years, considering it was called Demo 1, that there was only one of them. It turns out I was wrong, as according to this website there are actually 7 versions of Demo 1 released between 1995 and 1998 to UK audiences. Now the question you're probably asking at this point is anyone insane enough to track down all 7 versions of this demo? It annoys me slightly that these aren't called demos 1 through 7, because that's just the way my brain works. They are actually called SCES 48, SCES 120, SCES 238, SKED 456, SKED 816, PBPX 95007, and PBPX 95008. Those names just roll off the tongue, don't they? Now all I know about these demos is that they came with versions of the PlayStation between 1995 and 1998. I have no idea which version came with which, but I'm hoping that this compilation of all the games and videos on each disc might help whoever is watching identify a little with the demo that they remember. I'll talk about the ones I remember when I get to them, but I think the most appropriate thing to do is start with the first one. SCES 48. So this demo starts off with a spiky intro interspersed with words coming towards the screen and random bits of gameplay, and the music is like you're in a rave. This demo is split into 4 sections: games, VCD, preview and tech. We'll get to the games later, but first let's have a look at tech. Here's the infamous PlayStation Dinosaur. This still looks impressive to this day. You can basically rotate an incredible looking dinosaur around the screen which is walking to some scary music. This was of course created in 1994 at the height of popularity of dinosaurs because Jurassic Park was a relatively new movie. We also have the Manta Ray. Here we have a Manta Ray which you can also rotate around, which looks nowhere near as impressive as the dinosaur. It still looks pretty good for 1994, but the music is eerie and sounds like an actual manta ray playing the piano. This is probably the first underwater level to appear on the PlayStation, and already it's setting the bar, like most underwater levels, as being pretty disappointing. VCD. So immediately you're prompted to insert a music CD. Basically this plays a bunch of 3D graphics which are presumably generated live with the music. This was probably insane for the time, but my god, in 2024 this looks appalling. Video previews. Starblade Alpha looks like a generic space shooter. The graphics look good for the time, but the gameplay looks pretty dull, and the voiceover just sounds boring.
Located enemy flagship commander.
Tekken shows off some generic fight gameplay between Yoshimitsu and King. Clearly the person that was tasked with getting this footage thinks, oh, I better end this as quickly as possible, because Yoshimitsu hammers King in less than a minute. Tekken is awesome, but it's something I'd rather play than watch. Warhawk looks like another generic shooter game. The music is pretty epic, but it's hard to get excited about something that looks so dated now. I'd imagine people were pretty hyped to play this back in the day though. Twisted Metal still sounds and looks cool almost 30 years later, but like a lot of these videos, the low resolution of the capture really doesn't make it look appealing in modern day. This is another game I'd rather play than watch. Rapid Reload is not what I expected, and looks like a Final Fantasy protagonist running through a Metal Slug game. I'm a simp for Final Fantasy looking protagonists, so I might try and track this one down. Don't at me. Ridge Racer! Yeah, it's Ridge Racer. Nothing much else to say. It looked incredible for its time, but god, it looks like total garbage now. Jumping Flash. So this looks like some weird base jumping bunny game. It looks like it would have been something I'd loved in 1995, but I'm not sure it's something I want to play today. On to the games. Wipeout. Okay, so Wipeout still plays pretty good for a game from 1995. Graphically, it looks alright. The control's great in my opinion. The soundtrack is pretty cool, but the draw distance is a bit naff. It's also weird seeing PlayStation adverts everywhere. I don't remember if these were in the actual full game, but I can imagine this was probably used in shops back in 1995 as the actual demo. It's pretty good. Loaded. Loaded is a top-down shooting game. At the beginning, you're only given one character to choose, which is probably down to this being a demo. The character is called Mama. Presumably Mama just killed a man, because you're stuck in what appears to be a prison with 2 heavy guitar chords playing on repeat. It's not clear what you have to do at first, as there are loads of people gunning for you through some doors or walls or whatever they are. Eventually you find a key card which opens all the doors to the most violent thing ever. I just kept shooting while playing, and it didn't seem like there was any other goal than to kill as many people as possible. Clearly this was an edgy, let's get the older kids to buy this hyper-violent game title. Total NBA. So right at the title screen, this game really wants to let you know it's in development. I had no idea what the hell I was doing with this game, or whether I was playing as the guys in black or the guys in white, so I just took my hands off the controller and let the game play out. After going back to the menu and checking the controls, it looks like this is just an in-game tech demo. This is pretty cool looking for 1995, but to put this into the games section is pretty cheeky. It turns out you can watch this demo from multiple angles, which is actually quite cool. It clearly showed off what the hardware of the PS1 could do at the time. There's probably some poor kid who thought they were actually playing this in the shop though back in 1995, and went on to get the full game only to realise they weren't as good as when they were actually playing. Gutted. Battle Arena Toshinden. Okay, so this is an early 3D fighting game which is presented incredibly well. You can actually play 2-player on this demo, which is cool. There might be a few people who remember playing this with their sibling or parent on Christmas morning then. You can play as either E.G., Foe or Ellis. The graphics and music are cool, but the controls are really dated. The attacking seems okay, but the fact you seem to be glued to the spot, whilst the computer player seems to be able to do what they like, suggests the computer is only doing okay because it doesn't have to worry about sore thumbs from putting insane pressure on the D-pad. I couldn't win a single round of this game, and Foe's laugh will haunt my nightmares. Destruction Derby. So this demo of Destruction Derby only gives you the big in the pit loads of cars at once mode, which is fun for about a minute, and was probably an insane thing to play back in 1995. This demo hints at other game modes with screenshots, which I'd imagine probably hyped a lot of people to want to play it back in the day. It's still mindless fun that part of me wants to play more of. This first demo disc felt more like a look at what the PS1 can do type thing. The word of mouth of how insane the graphics and sound could be was probably the major selling point. There are a couple of races, a weird shooter game, and a fighting game which are playable. Whilst this doesn't feature the diversity that really made the PlayStation what it was, you can tell from playing this demo Sony were really trying to let you know that the arcade could be experienced in the home, and clearly they did something right with this approach. SCES 120. So in SCES 120 it doesn't seem like we've escaped the rave yet. This is kind of like version 2 of SCES 48. It's almost like it should have been called Demo 2, but what do I know? The nauseating VCD is still the same as before, and the Manta and Dinosaur are back too. The video trailer for Jumping Flash has been removed, and we now have 3 more video trailers to watch, along with those present in SCES 48. These are Assault Rigs. This looks like Tron. It's about 20 seconds long and it looks like Tron. Air Combat. This is a delightful video showing some jets flying to what sounds like Sonic the Hedgehog music. The demo then ends with presumably what the title screen of the final game is. I actually enjoy this one quite a bit, and I'm surprised I don't own any Air Combat games considering there are about 8 million of them. Crazy Ivan. Crazy Ivan is even shorter than Assault Rigs and shows off some jets, a down helicopter, and some guy in a massive tech suit. I'm not really sold on Crazy Ivan, maybe he was named by Ultimecia. So game-wise, all of the games from SCES 48 are present with 3 more games added, which are Jumping Flash. Okay, so I get to play this one now. The game starts off with Select Beam with Circle, which bodes well. I started off the demo and was welcomed by literal nails-down chalkboard music. I thought maybe the game had glitched, so I rebooted. Turns out it was a glitch because the soundtrack to this game is great, and this is quite a quirky little game. You can basically run around and jump on things to kill them. I know, delightful. As soon as you jump on something, your point of view shifts to looking below you. The video from the first demo didn't do this justice. It was quite fun, although I wasn't really sure what I was doing. Maybe the final game is worth having a look at. ESPN Extreme Games. So I'd seen this played before and had no idea what it was. The graphics and controls are quite good for the time, but it's so dull. There's no music, and I had no idea how to keep up with everyone, so I just pootled along, taking in the dated looking scenery. After a while, I realised I never want to see this game ever again. Novastorm. Okay, so Novastorm started out okay. It's a fun towards the screen shooter game, but you only get 1 life in this demo. After about 1 minute, a woman starts saying, "Energy low," and you die and are booted back to the main menu. Again, I'm sure the full game is better than this. So it's actually understandable why SCES 120 is still called Demo 1, as it's almost exactly the same as SCES 48. Everything in SCES 48 is present here, apart from the trailer for Jumping Flash. If you ask me, it's much better playing that than watching the trailer, so SCES 120 is better overall, even though 2 of the 3 new movies are rubbish. SCES 238. So here we are first shown a grey loading screen, and the same spiky intro movie with text and random gameplay bits is shown. The main difference here is that the rave music has been replaced with dum 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 dum. The menu here is also so much better, and the one I remember as a kid. The interface here is so nostalgic and features what can only be described as a view screen looking over a blobby alien thing covered in non-slip surface. I'm probably not selling it too well, but the futuristic feel this gave me as a kid, and how each menu item just slid past like it was part of some spaceship's control, was just so cool. The VCD looks like it might have been updated from the vomit-inducing version of the first 2 demos, but it still looks pretty dreadful. The Manta and Dinosaur are still here, and there's also a trailer for the movie The Net. The Net is so 90s. Sandra Bullock, a British guy, and floppy disks. God, the world was so high-tech in the 90s. There aren't any game videos this time round, so presumably the trailer for The Net took up all the space for video. Let's move on to the games. So none of the games from the first 2 versions of Demo 1 are present on this demo, but we have the following games which are all playable. Descent. In Descent, you move forward with triangle, and the D-pad controls for looking up and down are inverted. If I play this anymore, then I will begin my descent into madness. Somehow this was really popular. Actua Golf. Clearly the game designers weren't too confident with this game, as the first thing you see when you click play is, you should quit this game. The guy playing golf in the background can clearly move that golf club at Mach 1. I wouldn't cross him. Hey boys and girls, do you want to play some golf and here's some candy? The screen says loading hole. Loading hole. So it's golf. A really bad version of it. The commentary is a bit busted though, because the guy says it's landed in the rough before it's landed.
It's landed in the rough. Oh, and that shot's been hooked away, hooked away.
Hooked away! Hooked away! Honestly, this commentator hates me.
It's in the water. Now come on lads, this is golf, not water polo.
I have no idea how the controls work. Please let this game be over. Alien Trilogy. So I remember really liking Alien Trilogy, but that might be because the full game isn't as hard straight from the beginning. Right off the bat I was faced with some leaking steam that I couldn't find a way to get through without taking damage, and then I was faced with a xenomorph that took about 100 bullets to down. By the time I killed it I was completely lost, as all the corridors looked the same. It's atmospheric and looks great for the time, but it would be nice to know where to go. When I eventually found a door to open, I went through and a facehugger killed me. I'd love to play the actual game, as I'm sure it's much better than this hard as nails demo. Tekken 2. So this demo to Tekken 2 shows off the entire intro from the final game, which I always loved. What's missing from this demo though is the background music for the menus or fights, which is really off-putting. It lets you play as either Jun or Lei for one match, and I suppose gives an inkling of what the final game is like. It won't let you look at your moves list or play as any of the other characters though. It did make me want to play Tekken 2 though, so I guess this demo has done its job. It's also a jump up from the first two demos where you only got to watch someone play the first Tekken game. Ridge Racer Revolution. They should have called this More of the Same Racer. It's one of those games that was revolutionary at the time, but better by nearly every car game after it. Like with Tekken 2, it's nice to be able to actually play a game from the Ridge Racer series, as opposed to watching someone play it like in the earlier demos covered. Battle Arena Toshinden 2. I'd love to say that Battle Arena Toshinden 2 improves on the first game, but it really doesn't. This time you can play as, look how practical my outfit is for fighting Sophia, Foe, or Chaos. I spent most of my time playing this on the floor. The only thing that is better than the first game though is the laugh. I also can't get over how Sophia's legs look like they're about to fall off every time she moves. Power Soccer. So Power Soccer is one of those games where the teams are sort of close to what they are in real life, presumably to avoid copyright. The team of Manchester, which the computer controls, features Level, Cartoner and Kroll. It's an old football game where fouling only registers half the time, and it's really dull. I'm bad at football games anyway, but I couldn't work out how to speed up or keep possession. I'm sure this looked earth-shatteringly amazing in the mid-90s, but it's so boring now. So SCES 238 was pretty disappointing content-wise. Whilst the menu and interface looks so much more advanced from SCES 48 and SCES 120, and I'm sure the net trailer was cool to see in the world before YouTube and DVDs, the games showcased in the selection are pretty dull in my opinion. This disc is probably the weakest so far, so hopefully things get better. This should also have most definitely been called Demo 2, as apart from the Dinosaur and Manta Ray, everything in this demo is new. SKED 456. So SKED 456 has the same brief grey loading screen and the same intro from the last three demos, with a dum-da-la-la-la-lum from 238 making a return. The Dino, Manta and VCD options are all here too. Movies wise, this includes Revolution Software's trailer for Broken Sword. Now this is more like it. This trailer is iconic. The footage of the gameplay and cutscenes along with the incredible narration would have excited me so much if I'd seen this back in the 90s. Unfortunately I didn't see it until years later, but I make no apologies for still finding it exciting to this day and wanting to play Broken Sword so badly. Games-wise, all the games from SCES 238 make a return, apart from Alien Trilogy. In its place, we get the following. Crash Bandicoot. Here's an early version of the second level Jungle Rollers from Crash Bandicoot. This is basically the same level, except this green gem is a lot smaller in the final game. This is because you need to acquire the green gem at some point later in the full game to get it to appear here in full. When playing this, it panged a memory, because when I played the full game with my friend after he first got it in 1998, he said, sometimes you can get on the green gem and go up. I thought he was making it up at the time, but I guess he was remembering this demo. Anyway, it's a Crash Bandicoot level complete with the easiest bonus stage ever. It still feels fun almost 30 years later. I remember when I first played the full game, I fell in love with Crash games, and whilst the first game is nowhere near as good as 2 and 3, it still has a difficult to replicate charm, which also comes across in this demo. Die Hard Trilogy. Die Hard Trilogy on PS1 was one of those grown-up games that your friends would have that you would feel naughty playing at a sleepover when you were like 9. The original comes with 3 separate games, but the second one, Die Harder, is what features here. It's an on-rail shooter which would be so much more fun with a light gun. It starts off boring, but then a bunch of terrorists appear. If you shoot a civilian, McClane is like really nonchalant, being like, "Sorry, pal." The highlight of my time playing this demo was seeing two policemen jumping up in harmony and then immediately bursting into flames and disappearing. I'm sure this would be good fun in the full game, but as I died after one life, I really couldn't be bothered trying to slowly but surely get further when it's just a demo. This is what I think of the whole experience now. Poop. Yippee-ki-yay! Formula 1. So at first I was like, great, another car racer, but this was really good fun. The music was exciting and the controls were fantastic. The graphics were also great and quite detailed. For example, if you drive on the grass, your tyre gets covered in green for a few seconds until it wipes off. I really enjoyed this game, and I think I might play a bit more of the full game at some point. Apparently the commentary was done by Murray Walker, but I didn't hear any commentary unless this is how he talks. Monster trucks. So this demo starts with the screen explaining in about 4 different ways that this is an early build of the game, and when you start playing you realise why this screen is here. They may as well have written, "We know it's bad, we'll fix it." This is a POV monstrosity. The controls are the worst thing ever, and when you crash into the walls, which is pretty much all you'll be able to do, you can see through them. Eventually the demo has pity on you and just ends. It shows you some screenshots of the finished game, which looks so much better than this. It feels like they were probably pressed for time to release, and just release whatever part of the game they could build. Interesting, but not fun to play. Wipeout 2097. Wipeout 2097 is the second Wipeout game. Don't worry, you haven't missed 2095 entries. It's basically an upgraded version of the original, as it looks and controls even better. A brilliant experience playing, I need to play more Wipeouts. Destruction Derby 2. This is just an in-game level played. It's boring to watch and just makes me want to play the actual game. The highlight, if you could call it that, is at the end when it says, "You're on fire!" So SKED 456 still has the sexy menus, and the inclusion of the Crash Bandicoot demo and Broken Sword trailer probably make this the best one yet, even though Monster Trucks is probably the worst thing that appears on any of these discs. Let's move on to the next one. SKED 816. This still has the sexy menu from SCES 238 and SCES 456. This is also the demo I got with my first PlayStation, so it's the one I have the most nostalgia for. The Dinosaur, Manta and VCD options are all here and haven't changed since SCES 238. The movie and game content for this demo is all completely new though, so let's first talk about the movies. Soulblade. This shows a letterbox trailer with an 80s sounding pop song showing off how mind-blowing Soulblade is. Soulblade is a great game, and even with the terrible resolution of this trailer, it does the game justice. Roscoe McQueen. This is in a higher resolution and plays a suspiciously familiar sounding song, whilst what looks like a cross between Woody and Buzz from Toy Story destroys an unknown American city. This is the most 90s thing I've ever seen or heard, and I love it. On to the games. Hercules. So back on Christmas Day 1998 when I first played this, Disney's Hercules was a pretty new film, and I think it only just come out on VHS. It was one of the best Disney movies of the 90s in my opinion, and this demo really served to expand the world I'd fallen in love with while watching it. You play as Hercules in a 2.5D world, which is full of gorgeous artwork and some pretty interesting level design. This short demo expands upon a segment of the film which was a montage of Hercules defeating various minions summoned by Hades, and really gave a feel about how games could expand upon, at the time, understood methods of storytelling. It's a really short demo, but back in 1998 I asked for this game based off my experience playing, and I played it continuously over the Christmas break in the dining room. It's great fun, and a game I think I'll go over in more detail on my channel at some point in the future. Herculade! Life Force Tenka. So Life Force Tenka is an old school first person shooter, very similar to Quake or Unreal. The demo is pretty hard, which probably has something to do with the dated controls. Aiming is a nightmare, and the enemies are easier to hit while ducking. There's loads of options for weapons to use, and some of the design choices at the time, like a shield that has to wear out before you start losing health, were pretty creative. The problem is there's no real story to make me want to explore the world. It's just generic space monster land, with cats from all your base telling you to name your weapon. It's also really easy to die from these honking space guns. Stick to Halo. Porsche Challenge. This is a generic racing game with a terrible draw distance and rubbish handling. Whilst playing, I crashed into a tram and nothing happened. You can toggle between third person and first person views, but there's nothing really interesting to talk about here. I think the main character sums up my feelings pretty well when the race ends in a loss. Oh no! Overboard. So I remember Overboard. It's basically a tank-controlled top-down game where you control a pirate ship. I remember the 3D graphics blowing my mind as a kid, but I couldn't get very far. The graphics don't blow my mind anymore, but I still can't get very far. The game throws various different ships at you, and you have to utilise different weapons such as vertically launching rockets, direct launch cannonballs, or side-on cannonballs to beat them. It's fun, but a little unfair. The first hazard you meet is a flamethrower. If this hits you, you don't die immediately, but your ship slowly burns. Basically, it's a death sentence, so don't hit the fire. There's also graphical life lighting changes as time progresses, which looks cool, but it's too bloody hard for me to want to play more. Rage Racer. Okay, so another car racer. This one has pretty good draw distance, but still handles dreadfully. The most notable thing about this is the woman making seductive comments in your ear. It's not enough to make me want to keep playing though.
Racers, start your engines, and let's get it on.
Rapid Racer. So I have no memory of playing this demo as a kid because I had the full game. It's very pretty, but my god the control is dreadful. I really don't like this game. It's supposed to feel rapid, but I really just feel stuck half the time. More like Vapid Racer. Karushi. So Karushi is a puzzle game. It gives you a video tutorial which explains all the rules quite well, but this really doesn't help much as the real game is much harder. The idea is to run up this long passageway clearing out all the blocks that come towards you. The more blocks you don't deal with, the more of the platform you're on falls away. I thought I was getting good at this game when the whole platform turned against me and I fell to my death. This death animation was horrifying to see as a 7-year-old kid, and I'm sure I'm not the only person this gave nightmares to. After you die once, you're kicked back to the main demo menu and given this message on the screen. Look out for Karushi in the fall of '97. They knew. Abes Oddysee. When I played this on Christmas Day 1998, my life was changed. The game tells the story of Abe, a Mudokan slave who stays late at work one night to find out that his boss is going to turn his race into lunch. This results in Abe escaping and trying his best to rescue all his friends. This might be the best demo ever. Basically, the info screens explain to you how to play the game, but don't explain to you how to rescue all the Mudokans. This game takes the 2D Prince of Persia formula and adds far more character interactions. You can use controls in the game to talk to your friends and either lead them to escape via bird portals or lead them to their death. GameSpeak is explained at the menu and blew my mind as a kid. This was the first time where I really felt like I was communicating with the in-game characters in real time. This demo is also pretty long and I came back to it quite regularly to try and rescue the handful of Mudokans the game presents you with. There's also loads of puzzles, such as this horrifying screen where you have to jump over these platforms whilst chunks of meat come crashing down, this time puzzle where you have to deactivate a mine, or this puzzle where you have to throw a grenade onto these mines to clear a path. The game is set in a horrible world, but the dark humour balances things out well, such as the giggles the enemies make every time you die. Or the messages that pop up on the bulletin boards like, only 1,236 work-related accidents this month, keep up the good work, or decapitation toll cut in half. It's hilarious and horrifying all at once. The demo ends when you get into the stockyards, and can't physically get any further without blowing yourself up. It's brilliant, everyone should play the full game. So it may be nostalgia talking here, but I think with the combination of Abes Oddysee and Hercules, this might be the best demo disc I've played so far. There's something about the love and attention given to the design of those games, and how they represent the peak of 2D platform adventure games in my opinion. The demos are also memorable on their own, and give you just enough to be able to enjoy them for what they are without the actual game. Some of the other games like Karushi and Overboard are pretty cool too, but they didn't really get the difficulty right, whereas Abes Oddysee and Hercules hold your hand just enough to get you to enjoy a fair difficulty curve. PBPX 95007. So this demo was the first European demo, which wasn't just for the UK. So I'd imagine there's a wider audience which remember this one. To start with, the intro screen gives you a language option and a fish. Maybe if I pick French, it'll be Demo 1. The opening cinematic is now completely new with notable screenshots from Final Fantasy VII. It's incredible how far-reaching that game's impact was, and even though it doesn't feature as a demo on any of these discs, it had to make an appearance here for its impact. The menu now has an underwater vibe, which in my opinion is a step down from the futuristic feel of 238, 456 and 816. The Dinosaur and Manta are gone, along with the VCD, thank God. And the video trailer and gaming content is all new. Whilst this is probably the most up-to-date feeling version of Demo 1, it's hilarious how a VHS tape is used to signify the movies. Metal Gear Solid. So the resolution is pretty high and this shows a video trailer for the first Metal Gear Solid game. I was smiling all the way through this trailer. It's awesome and shows off just how exciting Metal Gear Solid 1 is to this day. It's explosion mad. Oh my god, this makes me want to play Metal Gear Solid so much. Well done trailer, you did your job back in 1998 and you did your job today. Spice World. So this looks dreadful, and no amount of Spice Girls 90s magic can possibly make up for how horrendous Baby Spice's face looks. This just goes to show just how powerful the Spice Girls were back in the mid-90s. Not even PlayStation demos were safe from them. The game looks bad, and you can tell whoever put this trailer together knew that because most of the footage shown is from the Spice Girls music videos from around the time. Spyro the Dragon. I've definitely seen this trailer before somewhere, though I never owned this disc as a kid. It shows off how cool Spyro the Dragon is, but Spyro doesn't really hit as hard without all the sound effects or the feel of controlling him in my opinion. This game looked incredible for 1998, and I'm sure a lot of people got the game after watching this. It's no substitute for playing it though, the game is an absolute classic. Crash Bandicoot 3. Here's the Crash 3 trailer with the Pink Panther spy music. This trailer shows off a bonus stage which isn't in the final game, and a slightly different looking warp room too. I remember seeing this as a kid after owning the game already, and it did make me want to play it. In fact, I want to play it now. It's one of the best games ever. Now on to the actual playable games on this demo disc. Gran Turismo. I'm going to play in a Honda NSX Type S0. It's one of the only cars available, but it's the best of the three. I'm choosing automatic too because I'm a wimp. The demo times out after 75 seconds, but as I was clearly in front when this happened, I'm going to take this as a win. This is a massive step up from the other races I've played. The draw distance graphics and controls are just spot on, and the cars still look good now. I mean, this is over 25 years old, and look how sexy it looks. Tekken 3. Tekken 3 is the best fighting game ever. Unfortunately, you can only play as 2 characters. This demo includes both versions of the intro though, with the in-game character model one being so much cooler. Mainly because Warhawk is in it. He's the best character in this game. If he was in this demo, it would be a lot better. I played this particular demo as a kid on another disc quite a lot, and it was frustrating not to be able to play as more characters. I got the game because I was desperate to play more. It's so good. Medieval. What do you get if you cross the Addams Family with The Nightmare Before Christmas? The answer is this game. The demo takes you through a graveyard as a skeleton man, who isn't named in this version. It's quite good. The goal is to kill enough enemies to unlock a chalice to get to the next level. This is cool as it rewards you for killing all the enemies and punishes you for rushing through. While it's reminiscent of the other collectathon platforms released around the same time, you can see the early foundations for hack and slash games like Devil May Cry here. Harmless fun. I might take a closer look at this at some point. Cooler World. Cooler World is a cooler game. It's a puzzle game where you play as a beach ball in a 3D space travelling between platforms and collecting keys. There are 3 main levels in this demo, and the first 2 are a doddle. The third really tests your perception of where things are. If you look at the beginning, I need to get a key on this middle platform, which I can only reach by taking a leap of faith from another one. This makes it really hard to collect the fruit in this level in time to reach the exit though. It's amazing how 25 years after playing this, I have to take a moment to ponder how to do it. If you get all the optional pieces of fruit in the 3 stages, you unlock the bonus stage, which you only get one go at. I remember reaching this stage as a kid only to have my friend jump straight off. He was an idiot, I never forgave him. I did it this time round though, and it felt so good. This game is great if you can find a copy, a real brain teaser and great fun. So all of the software on this demo is great, with nothing really feeling bad or rushed, which is a nice change. PBPX 95008. The menu interface is the same as the last one. This time the fish blinks and breathes though. The videos on this disc are Metal Gear Solid and Spice World, with the Spyro and Crash 3 trailers absent. This leaves only the last few games to go through. Gran Turismo, Tekken 3, Medieval and Cooler World all make a return from the last disc, along with Buster Groove. Okay, so here's an old school rhythm game where you have to press the buttons as they appear on screen. It's really hard. I'm bad at rhythm games anyway, but this one doesn't make sense. Unless you're within a nanosecond of the button press, it's a miss. And it isn't clear what you're supposed to do when. The style of this game is like that late 90s I like skateboards and graffiti era. It was clearly influenced by Parappa the Rapper, which is a much better game in my opinion. Crash Bandicoot 3. So this was a nice welcome surprise. The demo for Crash 3 I played back in the day was the jet ski level, which was a hidden secret in Spyro the Dragon, but this is the first time I've experienced a platforming demo of Crash 3. It's the first level of Crash 3, Toad Village, but there are a few differences. I don't know if it's just me, but Crash seems to control a bit more like he does in Crash 2. The animation for getting the crystal is the same as Crash 2, and the animation for the wizards dying is like the American version of the game. Another difference is the soundtrack. I think this is the uncompressed version of the original track, and it sounds amazing. The track also doesn't change as you enter the bonus room like in the final game, and like the video demo from the other disc, the warp room looks different too. It's interesting to see how many changes the dev team made this late into production, because Crash 3 came out in '98, the same year as this demo. Crash 3 is great, and this demo is definitely worth playing if you were a fan to see the quirks and things that hadn't been ironed out for the final game. Spyro the Dragon. Here we have an early build of Spyro the Dragon. It feels very similar to the final game, but there are some quirky differences like with the Crash 3 demo. Here the dragons either sound completely different than in the final game.
Thank you for releasing me. Free the dragons in the artisan world, then seek out the balloonist.
Or they just aren't there at all, and are replaced by little walls of text. Some of the sound effects are a bit different too, and I'm sure this little ledge wasn't as hard to get to in the finished game. The charm of Spyro shines through though, and there's even a meta part where the balloonist says that it'll take you to other places when the game is finished. If you love Spyro, this demo is worth checking out to see the quirks, but the full game is better. Tombi. So Tombi is a 2.5D platformer RPG hybrid, and it's awesome. You are this pink-haired caveman dude, and you're trying to hunt down your grandfather's lost ring, which has been stolen by some scary pigs. The platforming is broken up by little sub-quests which give you AP if you can finish them. The first thing to do is to clear the fog on the right-hand side of the map. It hints that you need something windy. If you were paying attention right at the start of the game, then you'd have noticed that the mailbox has a tornado in it. If you go into the background, you can pick up this tornado and clear the fog. I remember being amazed by this demo as a kid, as you can enter this little hut and be shown a video of the wider world to explore. Eventually you find the 100-year-old wise man who asks you to collect some chicks, which you can do by tracking down some comically large eggs. When you've done this, the wise man explains that you need to find the 7 pigs to get your ring back and I think save the world. You even enter a dwarven village where you can't understand a word they're saying. The way to learn their language is to jump on their heads and bite them, which one of the locals even suggests you do. It's utter bonkers. This quirky humour really makes me want to play the full game, which I think I will definitely do at some point. Tomb Raider 3. Okay, so in Tomb Raider 3 you start as Lara Croft in a prison cell. You have no guns and nothing in the game explains to you why you're there. I took a look around the cell and found a medipack sitting in it and decided to pick it up. After doing this, a burly MP came in and started trying to beat me up. I then ran away as there was nothing I could do to stop him because, you know, Lara Croft can't do anything physical without her guns, don't you know that? After a while I came to the armory, found my guns lying on the ground, and blew his brains out. Oddly cathartic. The rest of this demo didn't last long as after finding the crawl space and picking up a bunch of items, a remote laser thing came down and killed me. Game over. Tomb Raider is great, and I'm not sure if this level is in the final game. I'm sure if it is, you'll have the ability to save and not have to repeat the tedious steps of picking up all the items only to be skewered by some lasers. I love the game engine and controls though. I think it's fair to say that all things considered, this final demo is the best in terms of content. So this brings my retrospective of these demos to a close. There really are 3 waves of demos here. SCES 48 and SCES 120 are practically the same and should probably have been called Demo 1. SCES 238, SKED 456 and SKED 816 all feel very similar and should probably have been called Demo 2. And the last 2 demos are more or less the same as well and probably should have been called Demo 3. Overall, I think the best trailers showed off in this collection was the Metal Gear Solid one, and the best gameplay demo was Abes Oddysee by a mile. You can really feel the shift in Sony's focus from the earlier versions. Early on it feels like the graphics and sound were what Sony was pushing, with the games been secondary. But as time moved on, they stopped really putting as much effort into the menus and sexy music and just let the incredible PS1 software speak for itself. Overall, a fun delve into the mid-90s when PlayStation first started to rule the world. Thanks for watching, and let me know which version of this demo you remember in the comments below. See you later.